All right.
Alrighty. So in your 9 square, you should be able to find sites. But I'm going to show you, you might have to scroll further than me, just because you probably haven't used it before, so it'll be further down. If you do happen to just type in sites.google.com, I just want to show you something. If you ever get here and you're like, what the heck is this? This, whenever you see this funky little red piece of what looks like to me a newspaper,
yep,
you're on the old Google Sites. You got to make sure you go over to the left here and click on the new Google Sites.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you go the other way through, it should now, I believe, take you straight to the new one. Oh, no, it doesn't.
Nope, mine took me to the old one.
Okay, so make sure you move to the new one first. The old one does have a few more features, but it's way harder to use and it's not as pretty.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to make sure you're using the new one. Plus the old one, anybody that built sites on the old sites won't go away, but the old sites location will eventually, so that you don't get that newspaper page.
Okay.
It'll bring you right here. So you should have blank at the top and then some templates. Yeah. They don't have a ton of templates. If you click up on the template gallery above it, it does have a few more than when it's closed, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really have much that's education, but they do have a couple of them. Or you can just go blank and then create everything yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to go blank. You can choose a template if you want. You can always change them too. So, and then once you're in, you're on your kind of main blank page. So this will be your home page. So just go to the top left and give your site a name. And you'll notice once you hit enter on that name up there, it puts it up at the top corner here as well of the actual page the people would see. Now, if it cuts it off like mine because it's too long, don't worry about it. When we do the view of published, it'll actually all be there. Okay. Now, if you don't want your name at the top, you could add a logo. So you could maybe put like your school logo or something like that. And you just literally click on it. And where it says logo, you would just upload or select one from your computer. Okay. So if you want to just maybe select something right now, you can also do a Google search when you're in here. Or if you have something in your drive that you could use as a picture for now, just to try it.
Is that for the logo, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And also on here, they have photos. So if you've got pictures in your Google Drive, rather than clicking Drive and searching, click where it says photos, and then it'll show you all the pictures on your computer.
Cool.
And then you can close that little settings box for now. We'll come back to settings further. More about settings later. Okay. Now, once you've done that, if you've got the logo, then you could also take out the words that show up there if you just want the logo to appear.
Okay.
Okay. So now we've got our main title page. And so this would be like, welcome to my class, or welcome to whatever, that kind of thing, whatever you want it to say. And now in here, when you're typing those words, you notice the little box above it. Website building, they're trying to make it as simple as possible. So you'll notice there's bold underline, or there's bold and italics, but no underline. It's because they never want you to underline anything on a website, because an underlined means link.
Yeah.
Right? And so they don't give you the ability to underline words, because then people are clicking on them trying to go somewhere. And then you've got, good old centering and creating a link. And the T with the line through it is if you do a bunch of stuff and you're like, nah, I don't like that. I just want to start back fresh. That just clears anything you did. So if you change the title where it says title, if you changed bold, you left clicked and then you're like, nope, don't like it. In one click, you can get rid of them all instead of trying to go backwards. Now, under the title dropdown, there's only 5 types of font you can have on a website, on a Google site anyway. Good old normal paragraph text, a title box, which is what this is, so that would be the biggest, then a heading, which would be a little bit smaller, subheading smaller than that, and then really tiny font. So the small font is for just like maybe a note of where you got a picture from or something like that if you're giving credit. Things that aren't important to the viewer, but you kind of want to put on your site to have. But your paragraphs will be normal text. But this is a title, so I'll throw it back to title mode. Okay. Now, if you hover outside of that text box that we're in, where for mine it's black at the back, you'll notice that in the bottom left corner, you have change image or header type. So if you click header type first, you've got 3 choices. You can have cover, which means your whole page basically becomes one big welcome screen with a menu. Okay. Large banner is going to give you basically on a Chromebook, probably half your screen is going to be welcome. And then banner is what it was originally when we came here. Or you can do title only if you don't want that kind of picture. But if you want a picture, then you have to do one of the other 3. And you can change that at any point in time. Okay. Now, because I picked words only, notice that that second button is gone.
Mm.
So to get it back, to be able to switch pictures, you have to pick one that actually has a picture, because now I've got the change image. So if you click on the image and again, you go select, you could do a Google search for one. I want a picture of a classroom. And what's nice is just like most of other Google places, this is searching for anything that's commercial use with modification. So basically any picture it gives you, you can totally crop it and modify it and whatever. So let's pick a random picture. Oh, let's pick this one. There's no kids in it yet. It's summer.
Could be what it looks like in September.
Could be.
100-year-old desk.
Yep, we could be there. That's for sure. Darn sure, eh? Now, once you have the picture there, you notice I have these little kind of stars in the bottom right corner. So what the computer is doing is it looks at the image you bring in, and by default, it makes it so that the words pop. So it adjusts the picture, it tones down the colors, or it kind of grays it out a little bit, just to make it so that the words are still visible on top of them. Okay, and it does that automatically. Okay, so now we've kind of got our basic. So from here, we're going to jump over on the right-hand side. We're going to start over at themes. So when we click on themes, we have 6 different kinds of theme. And so at each one of these, if you just click on it, it'll show you kind of what the base font is for that theme, how it looks. And you'll notice there's like kind of a little color palette underneath each one. So with that theme, that's what they're recommending for color use. Now, if you don't like their colors, you can click on the little paint can and change it to whatever color you want.
Very cool.
Okay. And then under that color palette area, there's a thing that says font style. And you'll notice when you click on that, there's going to be 3 different font styles per theme. And they're going to be different depending on the theme. So because the vision theme is kind of a more visionary one, it's got brighter and bolder colors, and it's got bigger and more kind of fantastic looking modern looking sites or fonts, I mean, sorry. But if you look at like level, Dean, smarten up.
I'll kick him out of my room if you want. You can go see Dawn.
Oh, brat. So when I pick level, the colors are more muted. And when I was up at Diplomat, they were more like the dark tones. And you'll notice the font's stale, right? So with the dark tone, the fonts are very heavy. They're very dark, right? So basically you just pick the one you want. And again, you can switch it anytime. So you want to change it up a month down the road, go for it, right?
Cool.
You don't like the red, change the color palette to something you like. And it's immediate to the whole site. Okay, which we only have one page right now, but it would apply to every page if you changed it. Okay, so moving left of themes, we're going to the actual pages area. And what's nice about this is it's kind of an easy kind of drag and drop build. So when I'm looking right now at my home page, if you go right to the bottom, there's a little plus sign.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put your mouse on it, you can either create a new page or a new link to something else. So we're just going to go with new page. And then it wants you to give it a name. Click done. And then make another page. So whatever, I'm just going to do subjects for now. Oops, would help if I could spell homework. Homeward. Homeward bound.
Yeah, I spelled both social studies and science. I mixed up letters in both of them. That's just too funny.
We're obviously ready for summer.
Yeah.
Ready?
Okay, so now I've got a few pages. I'm sure you do as well. So if you just watch for a second, I'll show you how to manipulate. So just like anything, Google has two ways to do it, but the easiest way is drag and drop. So if I want homework at the top, I'm just going to click on homework, drag it till the blue line is between home and my other next page, and let go, and that's where it'll drop homework. Now, if I want, I should have LA first, it's most important, I can just click and drag that up. So it's where it goes. And then the other thing that's really nice is, let's say I want, I'm going to make a contact information page. So I'm just going to add one more. I don't want that contact information page to be its own entity. I want it to be a sub page of my home page. So what I'm going to do is click and hold, but this time I'm going to drag it on top of home. And when I let go, it becomes a sub page of the home page. So now if you look at your menu, which is probably across the top, if it's not, then you chose a theme that has it down the left-hand side and you have to click on the hamburger. But now if I put my mouse over home, that contact info page pops up as a sub-menu choice. Okay. So now I've got my basic page layout. Now if I click on any one of those pages, so if I just click once on language art, it literally just jumps me to the language arts page. So this is kind of your menu then for working.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to start maybe with my contact info page just because that's easy. So now what I'm going to do, I've got my pages kind of set up. You can come back and add pages whenever. I just kind of, most of the times when you're building a website, you've got the kind of the basic idea of what you want to start with. So just build them right off the bat. It just makes life a little bit easier. Now I'm going to move left of pages and I'm going to go to insert. So these are all the different things we can insert. So the basics, of course, is a text box, some images, embed some HTML code, or something from your Google Drive. And we'll talk more about that later. Underneath that is layouts. And this is a fairly new feature that makes your life so much easier, because rather than trying to be a graphic designer and figure out layouts and how things look good, you can just say, okay, well, I'm on my contact info page, so I maybe just want a picture of me and some information. So I'm going to pick that top left layout. I'm going to drag it and drop it. And now whichever layout you drew, you dragged and dropped, is going to have that layout on your screen. And now you literally just can click in the boxes, click in the box here, find your picture. I'll upload mine because I think it's on my hard drive, or on my desktop, I mean. Now, notice that when I dropped in my picture, it should have been more of a square, because now it's cutting off my double chins and my forehead. And so if you come up here to the image, when you're on the image, there's some tools at the top. The first one is crop, which of course we know what that is. The second one is one that took me a while to figure out. It's actually uncrop. So if I click on it, it's going to force the picture to be bigger. It's going to force the picture to be its actual size. And then from there, if I wish to shrink it, then I can use the little blue dots to modify it a bit. But when you bring in a lot of pictures and you're using one of those layouts, it will make the picture fit, which usually ends up cropping the picture somehow. So the uncrop tool is your savior, really. Now, if I don't want the picture quite this big, I've uncropped and then cropped a little bit by pulling upwards. If I want it smaller, I'm going to use the corners again, just like normal editing of an image. And you'll notice when I'm editing the picture, see the background behind it on my screen? Those lines? Everything in here, everything on Google Sites snaps to these lines. These lines are kind of like your guidance of spacing on the page. So if I want the picture smaller, it's going to snap to whatever line I was closest to when I let go. And so again, if you're typing text, you've got, kind of the same choices for size of the font. You do have additionally here, because we're not in the header, you do have numbered lists and bulleted lists. And then in your three dots, the little Timbits on the far right. Morning, Jody. I didn't see you pop in. Welcome. On the far right, under the three dots, you have code font. So if you know about websites and embedding code, you can actually use embedded code here that you get. But a lot of times in Google Sites, because they're so easy to build, what people do for embedded code would be things like, get a widget so that your classroom Facebook feed feeds automatically to your website or something like that. And so you would get that embed code from Facebook. And then good old strike through. Question for you, Jody, before I keep going. Are you okay catching up to where we are? We're in Google Sites, the new version. So if you go sites.google.com, you have to go /new. Or if you just go sites.google.com, then make sure you click in the bottom in the left-hand side where it says go to new sites. And we're actually just going to build while we work this morning. So if you want to make a site with us, that's what we're doing. Okay, so I've got my contact info page kind of there. I mean, obviously not finished, but the basics. So over on the left of this area, so each of these little areas, when I drag that layout in, is now what Google calls a section. Okay, and so if you move your cursor around on this section, you'll notice that there's 3 icons on the left. So the first one that you'll see is the little paint palette. And what that does is it lets you change the background of that section. So regular means white, usually, but sometimes some of the themes regular is not white, okay? But for most of them it is. Then emphasis 1, if you pick that, will usually be a grayish or a lighter shade of your dominant color of your theme, okay? And then if you click emphasis 2, it's going to be white writing on the darkest color of your theme. And then if you pick image, you can actually put an image as a background. So if I say, okay, well, I want a beach as my background image, it's going to put that kind of beachy theme behind. So again, it's based on what you want. I don't like that image. I'm just going to go swap it out, right? Easy to change. Under that little paint palette is to duplicate. So if you have, now I've used a really simple layout here, but let's say I was doing something like the layout that's in the second row on the right-hand side, where it's 3 columns and every column has a picture and a title and text. Well, if that's what I want to do, then once I've got it set up, I might just want to duplicate rather than go get the new blank layout and start from scratch, because then all I would do is edit my alternate the words and the pictures. So whichever works for you, you can duplicate or start fresh, and then of course good old trash can. Okay, now just for fun on this page, I'm just going to drag another layout in here just to show you one feature before we move on. And that is the other thing when I'm moving around in the white of this layout, you'll notice the 10 little dots on the left in the center of it. That lets you move sections around. So if I want to put this new section above the section that was there, I'm literally just going to click on the 10 dots and drag and drop. Pretty simple, eh? Now, if you don't want to use their layouts and you just want to create your own stuff, that's fine. You've got the tools on the right, and underneath layouts is a whole bunch of tools that provide you, and I'm just going to keep playing on this page for now, that provide you with some different features. So collapsible text, if you just click it once, it'll pop up some collapsible text for you. And so the title becomes your title. So let's say I'm going to do frequently asked questions. Okay. And then when I click in the second box of that collapsible text, it could say, you know, whatever the questions are. How old are you? Question mark. None of your business. Probably older than you. Okay, so now I could, you know, keep typing. So I can, you know, the next question is, I don't know, where were you born? Whatever. Moose jaw. So now you've got your heading, and if you click outside of that collapsible text area, you'll notice that everything you typed in the second box is gone. And all that shows up is your FAQ or whatever you put in the first box. When you click the little arrow beside it is when everything pops up. So this is great, like if you're doing your school site and you want to put like your course syllabus and all those kinds of things where you want the information there, but you don't want the parents to have to scroll for 5 minutes to get to the bottom document. If you do it this way and you use the collapsible, you can have the name could be the name of the document, and then when they open it, it opens the document. So it just makes less scrolling on your page. So it's a really nice feature. Okay. Table of contents over on the right is the next tool, and that's simple enough. It's a table of contents. Just lets them do some quick linking and quick moving from page to page based on your pages. Image carousel is literally, if you've got pictures you've taken in the classroom and you just want them to rotate through when people are looking at your website. And all you do is drag and drop it. Sorry, just click it once. These tools on the right, I always want to drag and drop, but they're tools, so you just click it. And then you literally you must have at least 2 images, but you just add your pictures. So I'm just going to go select a few here because I know in my photos I've got all those ones from the Google Summit. So I'm just going to go pick a bunch of photos here. And you can multiple pick pictures when you're in here. So if I click on this one, now it says 1 selected at the bottom. And if I just keep going around and picking pictures, so now I have 5 selected, and if I go insert, it's going to bring all of them in for me. And once they're in, as soon as they're in, I can go up to the gear and I can change the settings. So do I want the dots to show underneath each picture so they know kind of how many pictures there are that they can keep moving? Do I have captions? No, don't have captions for these pictures, so I'll turn that on. And I want it to auto start. And as soon as you turn on auto start so the pictures move automatically, then you get to decide how fast you want them to move. Okay. I'll leave it at medium and insert it. Now, because we're testing, because we're in the build mode, it probably is not going to switch because we're in build mode. When we go to preview mode, that's when it would switch. But I don't want it here. I want it in the middle. So I'm going to click and hold. And as soon as I start dragging, notice I get those bars behind me again. And now I can center it. Now notice, okay, this isn't center, but this is. Do you notice the little blue lines on either side at the bottom? That's how I know I'm centered for sure, because it's showing me I have an equal distance on both sides. So I'm like, okay, that's where I want it then. Let go and it's good there for good. Okay. Now, the next tool down is a button. Literally, it's a button. You drop it in, you put the words on it, and you tell it what page on your website to go to. Okay. A divider just gives you space, because one thing when you're building a website that you can't do is, like even if you look at mine right now, in my frequently asked questions, I had, oh, no, sorry. Oh no, it did keep it here. So it does it in here, but in a lot of places when you're building a website, if you put returns, like this extra return in here to separate my questions, when you publish, it removes them because websites don't understand return, the enter key, other than to go to a new line. They don't get the spare line concept. So people will use dividers to kind of separate things on a page to give that space. Okay. The next tool over is a placeholder, and that's literally like, okay, I'm kind of designing my website and I think I want a picture here. No, I think under that carousel, it would look better if it was maybe on the right. And then I'm going to put some text over on the left of it. So the placeholder is just literally holding a place for you to put something in there after. So it's used more for when you're trying to lay out your page. It's almost like your version of building the layout sections. Okay. And then we move into the easiest part, which is all of the tools. Insert a YouTube video, insert a calendar, insert a map. So if we try each of those, so the YouTube is easy. You can either do a search or paste in a URL if you already know where you want it to go. Or you can upload one that you upload if you have videos on your computer. And this is a fairly new feature. Before, the only thing you could do was YouTube videos, but now you can actually upload videos. So if you've taken, you record a Google Meet, you've used Screencastify to record something, those should show up in this list because they're in your Google Drive. So if I select one and insert it, and I'm like, oh, but I want that video up beside my placeholder for later. So again, I'm just going to click and drag until it's where I want it up in here. Looks good there. Now, if you click once on your video, once you've inserted it, you'll notice that, again, you have those blue dots to resize it. And you also have open in a new tab, which shows up to the viewer more. That's more useful to the viewer than it is to you. It's the settings one that we want to click on. So the gear. And when you click on there, you can now choose how the students or the parents see the controls. So normally in a YouTube video, if you move your cursor or you leave your cursor alone, sorry, it's gonna, those play pause stuff fades out, but you could also have it slide out of view, or you could say, no, my kids are like grade 2 and I want the play and pause button to stay there. I don't want it to ever go away because then they can never find it again. So you get to choose that. And then you also get to choose whether the video line of how much video you've watched is either white or red. And are you going to let them have that button that lets them click full screen? So that's up to you. And then when you've made your settings, of course, just press done to save them. If you're building a class website, the calendar feature is really neat because when you put your calendar in, if you click on that calendar button, you notice it's going to take you to all of the calendars that you have. And so all of your Google Classroom ones show up as well. So if this is my math page, let's say, I'm going to go find my math class. I'm just going to click 5W because I don't actually have a math class. And then when I insert it, it's going to put that calendar. And again, I can resize and move around and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this view. I want it to be month view. So if you click on the gear is where you set all your settings. So do I want them to see that this is 5W? No, they know that because they're on this site. I don't care about that. Show the date? Yes. Can they navigate? Yes. Should they see the time zone? Sure, why not? Whatever. See their time zone if they're in a different time zone? Sure, because then when they go to Florida, they know what time and stuff is due, right? You know, when they take their Chromebook and go on holidays with their family when the border opens. So you can literally make kind of all the changes so the calendar looks the way you want, and then just say done. Now, what's really nice about this is you do not have to keep up 2 calendars. If you keep your Google Calendar up to date with field trips, assignments that feed automatically from Google Classroom, anything extra you add, don't forget Friday's hot dog day, all those kinds of things, that's going to immediately feed here. So when the parents log into the website, they're seeing the same information that you're seeing on your calendar. So you don't have to be updating multiple locations. Pretty cool, eh?
Mm.
Okay, so I've got my calendar here. I'm going to move it over to the other side, and I'm going to drop a map in next to it. So we'll pick on Taryn, and we'll see if we can find Grovedale.
Good luck.
Victoria, Australia. No, let's find the one that's in Alberta. There we go. And so once I've found it, oh, I think I want a satellite view of it, and select. And it drops in without satellite. Let's see if we can edit that. Nope, no settings on this baby. So the people would actually have to click satellite. But that's how easy it is to drop a map. So just thinking about this, if it's that easy to drop a map, could you use this with social studies where you drop them into different locations? Right? So there's tons of uses for maps besides just, yeah, this is where my school is. Of course, that's the easy one. Okay, and then continuing down the right-hand menu is docs, slides, sheets, forms, and charts. And what's really nice about these is the same thing that's nice about the calendar, in the fact that if I have a Google Doc with a list of resources, if I change the Google Doc, it automatically changes on my website. I don't have to go update my website. So whatever you do to the Google tool, the doc, the slideshow, the sheets, whatever, is going to immediately show for the parents and the students on the website. So it makes life a little bit easier. Okay. So one of those, if you drop it in, just to kind of show you how you can manipulate it. So I'm just going to pick, let's say, I'll pick a document. I'm just going to click. Again, it opens up the right-hand side. It's going to show me all my recent documents. So, I was doing a Google Keep thing. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to insert it. And you'll notice it's only showing the top of my document, because by default, it's going to place it in a new section at the bottom of the page. So again, I've got my blue dots, so I can start stretching so that I can see more of it. And the stretching for a whole doc is sometimes a little bit manipulative. If it's a multi-page doc, just stretch it so they can see the first page, because once they can see the first page, they can scroll through the rest. Okay. So even if I don't want to show the whole first page here, I could leave it at this, because when we view it, we'll have a scroll down the side so we can continue looking at page 2. And again, I can take my corner and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want it the full width, because maybe I want some text over here with what to do. So I can either go up here to get a text box, or I can just go to any white space on your page and go tap, tap. So do a double click anywhere on white space. And you get this little kind of insert wheel. Now, when you get the insert wheel, you're like, okay, well, what do I want to insert? Well, text. So that's why they made the text one the center. And now all of a sudden I have a text box, and you'll notice it filled the rest of the width of the space I had left over on the right. So now I can insert my directions here. That makes sense? Guys are building so diligently. I'm so impressed. You're so focused. Now I'm going to show you a little tip. So this text box that I just inserted is way up here. And maybe I don't want it way up here. I want it more centered here. But if you click on the 10 little dots and you try and drag it down, when you let go, it pops back up to the top of that column. You can't get it to stay down there. So here's a little tip. Remember this placeholder tool? So now take the placeholder tool and insert a placeholder. So just click on it and then drag that placeholder. And notice when I drag, it's showing me the blue line wherever I go. Wherever I let go, that's where it's going to drop. So I'm going to wait till the blue line is right above that text box, and then I'm going to let go. Now that placeholder is not going to show for the viewer. The placeholder just put itself above there. And now if I double click on it, I could resize it. So if it put it too low, I can bring it up a little bit. If I needed more space before the directions, I can make that placeholder bigger. So it's a way to force space. Oh, Taryn's Chromebook must have quit. She disappeared. So it's just a way to force extra space into your website. Okay, did that work? Any questions so far? Okay. So now I want to show you one thing. So let's say that I was actually working on, let's say, my math page. And I'm like, oh, you know, I really like my layout. And if all I did was change it to LA, or I was working on my LA page and I was like, ooh, this is a great layout for all my other subjects. I could be, well, I already created those pages, but you know what? I haven't done anything on them. So if I go back to the page menu, I literally could say, oh, this is such an awesome page that I'm going to click on the 3 dots beside it and I'm going to duplicate it. And then literally I could just change the name of the page, change the content, but have the same basic layout to make it easier for the students. So you don't have to recreate every page from scratch. Okay. Also in this menu, if you decide, well, I should just have had this as my main page, you can make it the home page instead. You can take a peek at the properties of the page, which really isn't anything. Custom paths are only kind of useful if you want people to go directly to a certain page. You can kind of tweak the name of it. But other than that, they're kind of not a great feature. And Taryn's back. And then subpage is just another way to do that indenting thing. Hide from navigation. This is a great tool for when you want a page to be there, but you don't want it to show up in the list across the top.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe it's kind of like a secret page. So maybe you put an image on one of your pages somewhere, and if the kids click on that page or that image, it takes them to this secret page that maybe has like a little code word. And if they tell you that code word, you know they were on the website. And then you can give them points if you have some kind of a point system in your classroom, right? So you can kind of almost like the Where's the Waldo? So where's Waldo on the website? If they find the Waldo takes them to a special page that gives them a code so you know they were on the Waldo page kind of thing. So the hide from navigation has a lot of uses. If you've been to our COVID website, I've actually used that so that you have to click on videos to go to the video page before you can get to the teacher video page, because the teacher video page is part of that website, whereas the parent student video page is a separate website. Well, there was no way to make that parent student one show up in the menu across the top. So by forcing everybody to go to the video page, they now see the teacher video page and the link to the parent website. So that's another kind of use for that, hiding it. And then of course, good old delete. So if I decide, yuck, don't like this page, starting fresh, you've got the delete feature. Okay, a couple other things that we haven't covered yet. If we go up to the top menu on the right, so you've got your undo your last action and redo your last action buttons. You can also use Control Z for undo. Then we've got like the best feature. So where you see the little computer with the phone in front of it, if you click that, it's going to take you into a preview mode. This is the way your parents see it, or your students. Now, what's the best part of this is if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, right now it's showing it to you in, this is what your website will look like on a computer.
Oh, wow.
If you click the tablet, now this is what your website will look like on a tablet. So you can scroll, you can function, everything functions. You can click on your pages and like, oh yeah, everything looks pretty good on a tablet. Let's check out what it looks like on a cell phone. Okay, well, those pictures fit. Let's go back here and see. Oh, let's check out my contact info page. How does it look? Okay, well, that's placeholder at the top's got nothing. That's fine. This Walter's fine. Oh, does the FAQ work? Yeah, good. Carousel works. Video's there. The placeholder is showing up. That's weird. It shouldn't have. Anyway, I'll play with that again. And then you're like, okay, looks good. Or nope, I need to go fix this because it doesn't look good in phone mode. So you just click the little X and it takes you back to edit mode. So you don't actually have to publish to see what it's going to look like, which is really helpful.
That's really nice.
Yeah. And the fact that they give you all three modes.
Yeah.
Usually you just get like the website mode, and then you've got to publish and go to your phone and see what it looks like, or go get your iPad and see what it looks like. This is just kind of built right in. Now the next one moving over at the top is the link, create a link, or sorry, get the link to your website. But because we haven't published, it's not available yet. Okay. Then you can have, the next one is share with others. And so literally, like for Leah and I, we both are collaborators on the website. So we both can get at them from each of our own Google Drives to make modifications. The gear itself, I told you we'd come back here. So if you want to click the gear, we've got some settings that we can switch up. So the navigation one, so where do you want your menu? At the top or on the side, so you can force it. What I don't like about when you pick side is then they have to click on the hamburger to see the menu. And if they don't know to click on the hamburger, they can't find the menu and they're like, well, there's nothing on this website. So the top one is definitely an easier, user-friendly way to do it. And then you'll notice right now that my homework, LA Math and Science and Social, is on top of the picture. But if I change it from transparent to white, then it becomes a white bar. So depending on your picture, it can make your menu more visible. Okay. And of course, you've got the black, which would change the font to white. So whatever you like the look of best, you just change it in here. Moving down the left-hand side, your brand images. So we did the logo already. And if you scroll below the logo, you've got favicon. And so favicon is when you look at a tab. So when I look up here at my Apple tab, it's got the Apple logo. And then I've got a website open here that's Google Bootcamp, and it's got the little camo hat. So that's, if you put an image there, that's the image they're going to see when they're on your website. If you put nothing, you'll notice the tab that you're actually building on right now has the blue Google Sites logo. That's what they would see. Okay. So if you don't want them to see that Google Sites logo, then just change it to some other image. Continuing down the left, your viewer tools. These are kind of just personal choices. Do you want them to see the last time that you updated your site? Do you want them to have some kind of a contact form for you? That kind of thing. Analytics, you literally have to sign up with Google to be able to analyze the use of your website. I've never done it. And then the newest feature is the announcement banner. So if you want to try this one with me, we're going to tell it to show the banner. And you can pick a color. So you want to make it so it kind of pops. And then you're going to put in up to 150 characters. and you're going to say, I don't know, midterm exam this Friday, June 26th. I guess that should be a final exam, shouldn't it? All right, we'll change it to final. It's the end of June. And then you can have a button behind it. So you know how sometimes when you go, especially lately, we've seen a lot of them where they have like a banner across the top that says, for more information on how we're dealing with COVID-19, click here. So that would be this button label. So if you want them to be able to click and find out more information, then you're going to put a label for your button and then tell it where to link to in the next box. And if you do that, then you probably want it to open in a new tab so it doesn't take them away from your website to go look at that COVID-19 information. And then lastly, mine would quit jumping around here. At the very bottom of that is, do you want them to only see this message when they're on the home page or when they're on every page of your site? That's up to you. And then that's it. So you can close your settings. And as soon as you close your settings, you should see your banner now at the top. So you can go in whenever you want, turn that on, turn that off, change the message, and just kind of pop it up when you need it and close it when you don't. And if you need to change it quickly, you don't have to go into settings and then click down. Notice that when you hover over your banner, there's the little setting gear in front of it. That'll jump you right into that announcement banner screen. So it's a quick way to get in there and say, okay, done with that exam, just turn the banner off. I'm not even going to change the message till next time I need something new. Easy, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost done. Up at the top, beside the gear, on the top right corner of your site is the 3 dots, the Timbits. Version history works the same as it does in every other product. You can see all the changes that are made, what day they were made on, that kind of stuff. You can duplicate a site now. So if you get this beautiful site for this year and then you're like, oh, but it's got so much information. I love my layout. I want to use it again next year, but I don't want to wreck this year's site. Then literally just duplicate and create one for 2021, 2022. And then you can take out what you want and start from there. The only other thing I want to show you on the drop down here is report a problem. I don't know if you've been told this before on any of the other products, but whenever you see report a problem, it also means request a feature. So if you click on report a problem, that's how you give them feedback about what they need. So if you're like, I want to be able to set a password for a page on my website, you're going to ask them to do it there. And the more times that people ask for stuff, the faster it gets done in Google. That's the Google way. Okay. Last but not least, the publish. So right now it's one blue button. And you might not want to publish yet, but you can, because I'll show you how you can unpublish too. So when I come here, it's going to say publish your site. Well, it's going to, by default, give it the same name that you gave the website. You can actually change that. So I could say 5W. It's like, oh, too short, you need at least 3 characters. So I'm going to go 5MW. And so now you'll notice right below that box, it's saying this is what your website address will be. Okay. And it's telling you, it's giving you a check mark here because that's available. If somebody else had already created a PSWAPity 5MW, it would give me a red X and I would have to change it. Okay. So now who can view my site? Well, anyone in PSWAPity, sure, or I can manage it and I can make it anyone in the world. So I can publish it just to PSWAPity, or I can make it public, or I can restrict it so basically only I can see it.
That's super easy.
Which, yeah, it's kind of not the point, but this draft restricted, I would leave draft at restricted because that means what's nice is after you publish your website, you can continue to modify without publishing. They will continue to see what's published and you can like literally set up a whole nother page and add your next unit and have it ready. And then when it's time, just press publish and that next page will be ready to roll. Okay. So you don't want other people seeing your draft. You only want other people seeing your published site. Okay. So if I say done now, and I say, good, I like how my settings, publish, it's going to literally publish my site. And down at the bottom, it says it has been published successfully. So I'm going to click view. And now I'm literally on my published website. Okay. And it opened in a new tab. So this is what it looks like to the world. Now, if I go back to the tab where I was building, you'll notice now that my published tab has a little arrow beside it. It's got the little secret door. If you click on the secret door, I can go look at those publishing settings. I can review any changes. So if I've been building that extra page with that new unit and stuff, I can go take a look at what I've changed since I last published. I can, again, view published, which just opens it in a new tab. Or you can say, okay, 2021 is, or 2020 is finally over. I'm going to unpublish my site because, you know, this COVID year, we want it to go away, and it removes it. And so now you're back to one blue publish button instead of having the secret door. Make sense? Question?
Makes perfect sense.
Any questions? Anything pressing?
No, this was great. I got all the basics I need to get started.
I just like it because it's
Fantastic.
so nice and simple. It doesn't make it difficult. Yeah, the whole drag and drop, the double click for a new feature, bring in pretty much anything that's in your drive. Yeah. Well, if there's no questions, I will stop our recording.